This is exactly how I gained 23 pounds of natural muscle, broken down into 5 simple steps so you can do the exact same thing and get your dream physique as quickly as possible. Starting with the first thing, which requires you to lower your ego to actually get value from this, which is that you are not training hard enough. You need to have insane intensity with your lifts if you want to grow. This is something that I had to realize myself, and through many different phases of my 6 years of training, I have not been pushing myself to the degree necessary to stimulate new growth. If you just come with the show up mindset, like you can do when you're a beginner and get those newbie gains, you will not continue to progress. There is so many people, so many of my friends who I have surpassed because they've just been showing up to the gym. There's guys who I know who just show up and they have the same physique year after year. And they're like, I'm going to the gym 5 days a week. Yet they're benching less than their body weight. They're barely pushing themselves in any way, shape, or form. And they're wondering why they're not growing. Training intensity is what is going to give you the stimulus to grow new muscle. You need to train like an animal. You really need to push yourself to an insane degree. If you don't do this, you are not getting the stimulus that requires your muscles to grow. Especially as you go into intermediate and advanced lifting stages, you really need to focus on training intensity and pushing yourself. Some of the ways you can incorporate this is drop sets. For some of my exercises, I'll do triple drop sets. So for example, on lat pull downs, I'll do 3 drop sets. I'll do 3 drop sets on lateral raises. Things like that are really going to allow you to mentally push yourself, and you'll realize that you have so much more in the tank, that your muscles are not even anywhere near fatigued, and you can continue to go and go and go. But it's all about that intensity. It's all about coming in with the right mindset. If you have that mindset of training super hard and intense, you will grow and you will put on muscle faster than you've ever put on muscle before. Now, this second thing is a cheat code to adding muscle and losing fat. Without this, you're really gonna struggle to make the gains that you want. And this is boosting your testosterone. You want to be on the high range of the scale. Whatever those fucking bitch ass doctors are recommending as normal, which the scale goes from like 300 or 400 up to 900, that's not even fucking good requirements. Like if you have 300 or 400 nanogram per deciliter test, you are fucked. You are not gonna be putting on muscle and losing fat at the same degree as someone who has 800, 900, or even 1,000 nanogram per deciliter test. I got mine tested about 2 years ago, and it was 850, and that was after a weekend of partying for 3 days, not sleeping. I'm not advocating doing that sort of stuff, but it was high at that time, and it's been maintained ever since. So there's specific things that I do to maintain high testosterone, and I outlined everything. This is an insanely comprehensive guide that I honestly could charge money for. It's going to be better than anything else you've ever seen, but it's going to be completely for free for you guys. I put it all into a guide, and that's the first link in the description below. You can grab that now. And this third thing is super important, which is progressive overload. You need to be progressively overloading, especially on the key compound lifts. This is what I would say is make sure that you're tracking on your shoulder press, your pull-ups, your bench, your squats, your RDLs. These sorts of lifts need the progressive overload more than anything else because they have the most strength potential. You are probably at like half of your capacity of what you really could do. The other day, I just threw up 40 kg, that's 88 pounds on the 15-degree incline bench for 8 reps, and I've never even touched weight like that before in my life. I was like, holy shit, this is crazy. I grabbed the 37.5s and I was moving them quite well. And that was even something that I hadn't really done only like twice in my life. I was like, fuck it, let's go for the 40s. And I ended up just repping them out. I didn't even think too much about it. I was like, let's just push. And that is really what's gonna make you those new gains, is getting to those heavier and heavier weights, allowing your body to adapt to them and really make huge incremental leaps in how much weight you're moving. So I'll give you another example. So let's just go back all the way to 18 years old. I was doing the RDL with my friend, and we would do 135 on the RDL every single workout for like 15 reps, and we had so much left in the tank, and we didn't even really think about it. That is kind of the opposite of what I'm preaching here. That's not training with intensity, and that's not progressive overloading, and we didn't get results because of it. So if you're doing something like that, you're wasting your time. Now, let's fast forward to when I was 21, and I was really focusing on the RDLs. So I took my RDLs from probably around like 205, 225, all the way up to 285 for 6 reps in a matter of like 3 months. Because every single workout, I was coming in and I was either adding weight or I was adding reps. And my gym had one of these cool, like, I don't know, it's like one of these scanner things which could show you how much muscle you were gaining. So you do it every month and it would give you a progress report. And my legs and ass were getting so much stronger and adding so much muscle because of how much I was progressing on that lift. It was absolutely insane. And I pushed the boundaries of what I thought was possible every single workout. And that's what's really going to drive your gain. So if you are always coming with that sort of mindset, with the progressive overload, the intensity, you are going to make a ton of gains. But if you don't, you're going to be like my 18-year-old self who was doing 135 on the RDLs, leaving so much in the tank without even realizing it. A lot of the gains that you are not making is mostly mental. So you got to really understand that. And when you track your lifts, if you just aim for one more rep, this is what I noticed, is that it actually just like mentally makes it so much simpler, where you're like, okay, well, I did 8 reps on the 40 kilos last week. What's 9 reps? It's not that hard. And then it becomes 10 the next week, and it's 11 the next week, and then it's 12. And before you know it, now you move up to the 42.5 kilos, and now you do 8 on there, and the cycle continues, and you start making a ton of progress on these lifts, getting super strong. Sometimes just having a very simplistic tracking system, just being like, okay, let's just go for one more rep. Of course, if we do more, that's great, but just one more, it's not that difficult. We can do that. It allows you to create that self-belief that you can actually accomplish this. So that's what I would recommend if you're really getting into those heavier weights, is just add 1 rep. This will make a world of a difference for you. And the fourth thing is going to be diet. Your diet needs to be in alignment with your goals. So if you're a skinny kid like I was, you need to start bulking and eating in a caloric surplus. The first time I ever put on a significant amount of mass at 17 was because I started to bulk and follow the previous mentioned things. I was training with intensity and I was progressive overloading and I ate in a caloric surplus, and everything changed for me. I remember going into quarantine, a relatively skinny kid with just a little bit of muscle, and 2 months later coming out, and all my friends were like, holy shit, Seb, how did you get so big? And I kind of became like the gym leader of the friend group, where everyone was looking up to me for advice. We would hit workouts together. Everyone was following my program. All because I just followed those simple things. That was the first time I ever made real progress, and one of the biggest factors was the fact that I just started to actually eat in a surplus. So if you're a skinny kid, you gotta bulk. If you are overweight, you gotta eat in a caloric deficit. I had a friend who was 300 pounds, and he worked his way down to 160 in a matter of, I think it was around 15 months, just eating in a caloric deficit and training consistently. So whatever your starting point is, you just got to eat in alignment with what your goals are. It's really that simple. And one thing too, which is outlined in the testosterone boosting guide, is there's specific diets that will allow you to boost your testosterone. Certain foods lead to you having higher test than others. Don't fall for the fucking macro trap of just get your protein. That is terrible advice. It's not going to lead to you having the same degree of success as eating a test boosting diet. It is completely different. I've been doing it for the last 5 or almost 6 months at this point, and it has made a massive difference on my physique, the way that I feel, the way that I perform, and the gains that I have gotten have been absolutely insane. So I'll just kind of break it down real quick. Some of the things you're going to want to be eating that boost test is beef and eggs. Those are 2 massive things that will really boost your test. They're high in cholesterol, and cholesterol is the precursor to testosterone. They also have high protein, which support muscle building. Another thing that I love is salmon. Once again, it's high protein. It has some of the omega fatties, things like the fats support testosterone as well. So those sorts of foods are really, really important for boosting testosterone. So eat in a testosterone boosting diet and you will make a ton more gains. This is completely outlined in the testosterone boosting guide as well. And the last thing we need to touch on is recovery. Recovery is absolutely essential to growth. If you do not recover, your muscles never get a chance to actually grow. When you are resting is when the muscles grow, and most of the growth happens during your sleep. So the biggest tip I could give you is make sure you sleep a bunch during the week, at least. Not on the weekends. I party on the weekends, but during the week, I go to bed around maybe like 1 o'clock, but I sleep all the way until 11 a.m. So I usually get about like 10 hours of sleep. I get a bunch of sleep, and that is massive for recovery. You don't need that much, but I would aim for at least 8 hours. So sleep is going to be the biggest thing that improves your testosterone, allows your muscles to recover, just gives your mental time to reset as well. It's really important for every aspect of you, just as a person, right? It's just super important for you. So sleep is going to be the biggest tip I can give you for recovery. Besides that, a caloric surplus will allow you to recover much quicker as well. That's what fuels growth. So as long as you're not overweight, I would really recommend trying to eat in a surplus, or at least just at maintenance or slightly more. That's really going to allow you to add the muscle that you need and stay properly recovered. So these are the biggest things that really make a difference. On top of that, I do a little bit of stretching. I like to stretch at night before bed. I think that helps just loosen things up, and it allows you to continually make gains without running into too many issues. So if you do that, you're pretty much good. And once again, testosterone is absolutely essential to this entire transformation. I wouldn't have been able to add these 23 pounds of muscle if I didn't have my testosterone where it is. It is very high. It is something that is absolutely essential to grow muscle, lose fat, and be the best version of yourself and live the best life a man can live. And that's why I made you guys this guide, so it's completely for free. It's the first link in the description below.